Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Avini Vibes. Today is January 9th, 2025, and today just so happens to be my husband's birthday. Happy
Oh,
birthday, Craig. He's sitting over there.
Happy
Um,
birthday.
happy
happy
birthday, Craig.
birthday.
But I told him we couldn't really celebrate it tonight because we had to do Avini Vibes. And guess what? He supports that. He says, go for it. It's
Oh,
that not awesome to have a supportive husband or a supportive partner, because this is a business that you need team support and you need your either spouse support or your partner support. Very, very, very important. And if you don't have it, it's okay. They'll come around. They'll come around, I promise. As they start to see your body get cleaner and you get healthier, and those, I'll say those, maybe those paychecks come in. They'll come around. I just want to welcome you tonight to Avini Vibes. Again, we're here to support one another, to educate, to learn from each other. So excited because we have somebody all the way from the West Coast who I just learned, Sue Hiles, with us. She's an organizer. And like, how cool is this that our family's growing in Avini? I also want to welcome somebody. I don't know if he's going to come on. I asked him to come on camera. Ryan, you going to come on camera for a minute? Um, maybe a little shy, but oh, there he is. So this
There
is
he
my
is.
son, although it says William
Yeah.
Ryan Topash. Ryan's going to be helping me.
Hi,
Ryan's a fitness
Ryan.
coach and a
all right.
trainer, and he's going to help sculpt our bodies. Remember, we all talked about doing the exercise 2 to 3 times a week. Right. We all said we were going to do that. We were all going to, a new thing we're going to take on, the importance of exercise and movement to keep us young and keep us flexible. So Ryan's doing a few videos for me that we're going to share to help support you. And it's going to come through, help us with the new magnetic mentoring. Have a new magnetic mentoring starting the last week of January on Tuesday nights. So that's pretty exciting too. So Ryan, welcome aboard. Thanks for all your support. He's kind of like my wing person in the back office, always helping me with organizing the reports and the things, and getting out the messages to all of you. So thanks for being here. But with that, I just want to again know that we're not here to make medical claims, make diagnosis, or use medical terms for that fact. So just remember at the end when we do some testimonials, let's be smart how we share or ask the questions that we want to ask. We got Chip in the house, which I'm always so happy for. Chip to be with us, Dr. Nakita, and of course Carol. Could never do this without Carol. Carol, thank you again for always being our
Yeah.
techie, taking care of the back office things that we need. So welcome everybody. With that, I'd like to just share our topic tonight is fiber. And I heard on a TV show this week about I caught it in the morning. I think it was on the news as I was driving. The recommended intake for daily fiber is 25 to 30 grams from food, not from supplements. Take a guess how much the average American gets in fiber. Anybody want to guess?
Yeah.
Gary's look, 4, yeah, about. Very, very low amounts of fiber.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Dr. Nikita is going to discuss it and Chip about ways we can get fiber into our bodies. But the number one way you can get fiber into your body is eat 1 cup of passion fruit every day. Is anybody doing that? Or you could eat 8 avocados, or maybe 1 cup of guava. I don't guava, I think it's called. So it's not easy, 1 cup of pomegranates. It's only 7 grams. So it's not easy to get that fiber into your body. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Nikita and perhaps
Mhm.
share a little bit about the importance of fiber and Avini fiber as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So one of the things I would love to tell you guys about is that we all can eat enough fiber in every day. And I'm sorry, that's a lie. We can't. We'll be spending a whole day sitting around trying to find things to eat to give us enough fiber to take care of everything that we need in our bodies. And because we live busy lives and we don't have that time to choreograph all the different meals that would give us that level of fiber that we need, we have to look at outside of the box. And we do have a beautiful product that gives us the amount of fiber we need in our diet, but also provides a special help with that fiber to help our bodies not just assist with the elimination of things from the fiber, but a beautiful zeolite or detoxolite that we call, and that product assists with that as well. Now, a lot of us sometimes don't realize what the digestive system is. Some people think it's just your stomach or it's just your mouth, but it's everything from your mouth all the way down to whatever you come in and what's going out. So that's the whole system. And unfortunately, our whole body has to interact with this digestive system. So it's very important what we put in our mouths, but also taking care of this organ, this system, right? Um, Now, yes, we cannot take enough dietary fiber in just every day. However, one of the things that we have to do is limit the amount of toxins and heavy metals that enter in our body. And we try to do that, in different ways. But how does that work with our body? When we're not eating pieces of metal or pollutants, right? We're not eating them, but unfortunately we are. We don't know where they are. They're hidden, right? And so some of the things that affect our digestive system, when it comes to toxins or heavy metals affect our digestive system. The types will be lead, mercurium, cadmium. And what they do is they kind of disrupt the linings of our digestive system. It disrupts the gut microbes. And they also damage like the things inside of our intestinal system. The other thing we have is environmental pollutants. And those things as like pesticides and herbicides, all that fruit and beautiful stuff that we're eating and trying to clean. Unfortunately, we still take in a lot of pesticides and herbicides, and that irritates the linings of our digestive system. Another one is BPA. That's like plastics, microplastics, things that our food is packaged in. A lot of those things mimic hormones and impair our digestion by impacting how we absorb food and nutrients. Now, that's saying a lot, right, about the toxins, but how does that really impact my system? Um, if those leads and toxins are present in my system, what that do is that'll kill beneficial bacteria, right? So if I'm killing beneficial bacteria, that will lead to poor digestion as well. These heavy metals and toxins also cause a lot of inflammation. And we don't normally really see the inflammation, but we might feel it and being achy, sometimes irritable bowel syndrome. Those are like inflammation system problems. Also, it definitely that inflammation would also impair nutrient absorption. Okay. Um, if you have too much toxins inhaled or ingested, you'll have an accumulation, and that would also burden your body. Because of that accumulation, it'll affect other offloaded organs of our digestive system, and that will be mainly our liver. That affects like the how we break down food, like our fat digestion. So we don't want to have a toxic overload. And then we also have disorders um, from the lead or heavy metals. And those disorders could be anything from constipation to irritable, like I said, irritable bowel syndrome, or even diarrhea. Those are all of the digestive disorders. Now, I'm saying all of that, right? And yes, we know we have to eat properly. We need to make sure we have all of this fiber, but we cannot get all this fiber in our body, right? So, beautiful company, Avini, has this beautiful product called fiber. And it's made not only does it have beautiful dietary fiber that's made with all these beautiful things, and I'll have Miss Dr. Chip talk to you about that. But I wanted to really stress that this dietary fiber, along with the zeolite, does amazing things. Um, Not only, yes, fiber in our body helps clean the system. It makes sure it cleans our lining of our intestines. It makes sure that our food absorbs properly. It slows gastric emptying, which is how fast our food leaves our stomach. It slows it so we feel full longer. It does all those things, right? But with the added benefit of the detoxolite, it binds those toxins that we're ingesting unknowingly, right? It binds and traps the pesticides and heavy metals throughout our digestive tract. It promotes like the lingering of the gut. Well, I already talked about that. It also helps support your gut health. So what I mean by that is that this fiber being in your stomach or in your digestive system, it actually feeds the good bacteria. And that improves your digestion as well as decreasing the amount of toxic exposure if you have very good bacteria running around, right? Now, zeolite is beautiful is because not only am I getting all those pesticides and heavy metals, I'm getting those leading heavy metals that interfere with my nutrient absorption. And that would be that lead, mercury, and arsenic. Now, because I'm getting all that out, my lining is better, and digestive tract, my pH balances, my pH levels in my system is all neutralized and happy. Because of those toxins and environmental factors are not running around in there. And it also hugely, hugely impacts the amount of nutrients that I'm absorbing. That means any vitamins that I'm taking, they're very well absorbed in my system naturally and easily. The minerals that I need that I'm eating on normal food, that fiber with that zeolite is allowing those vitamins and minerals to be absorbed beautifully. And that's what the added benefit of having that zeolite in our fiber does. Um, I don't know if I want to talk about more. Any questions about that so far?
Well,
Yeah,
I just wanted to share something real quick. I
Mm-hmm,
found this, maybe you can't see it. I think I found this in
mm-hmm,
the office, but it's a great diagram of the body: arsenic, mercury, lead, aluminum, chromium, cadmium. And then it has underneath it says heavy metals, toxins, and volatile organic compounds. And it lists a whole group of them on the left side. I don't know if you can see this. No,
No,
but
your blurry screen is
I'll
messing with.
share it with you. I'll find out where I got it from, but I printed it out, goodness, a long time ago, but I found it today. But when you were just talking about that, the volatile organic compounds, the heavy metal and toxins, hormonal imbalance, nervous system interruption, high blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure, cardiac disease, cancer risk, asthma, chronic bronchitis, kidney liver damage, immunity, reproduction, fertility, joint pains, chronic spasms, skin
Everything.
problems, weight, and obesity. That's a
Yes, a
mhm,
lot,
yeah,
mhm.
that's a lot. But
a lot.
Eddie, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, doctor, how are
Mm-hmm.
you?
I'm doing
Uh,
great.
it's really cool because you mentioned BPA. I never really knew what that meant, but I know it's a industrial chemical that goes, you know, through the plastic into the even maybe the metal. But
Mm-hmm.
I go to Dollar Tree. I gave Rox one. I get my water bottles that I mix up my stuff in, and believe it or not, in Dollar Tree, well, it's now the 125 tree. They have non-BPA on their water bottle. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so you can go grab two or three water bottles for $3 or $4, and it's non-BPA. And then when you go in the store, if you look in the organic section, you want to see non-BPA, right? Canned goods. And I really didn't think about that much until I started trying to figure out what does that mean. And so yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So that's something that I do, and I'll go through them, and I'll just, after they get clogged up because I'm shaking the fiber up in there and everything, and I'm like, all right, I can throw that away and go for $1.25 and get two or three more. So I appreciate you saying that because I hadn't heard that anybody talk about that. The BPA.
Yeah, can we see hands up if you tried the fiber? Hands up, everybody trying the fiber. It's awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I forget to do it on a daily basis, but 15, 20 minutes before, before a meal, wow, it's amazing. But Chip, did you want to comment about something? I saw you go live there.
Oh, I was just trying to add a little something to what I was going to say. Um, yeah, I love listening to Dr. Nakita because makes me think, And we could take a little, I mean, she just took us on a little ride through the digestive tract. But here's some things that jumped out at me when she was speaking. Gut lining, 1 cell thick, makes all the decisions about what gets out or doesn't get out. The place where that decision is made is called the tight junction between those single cells. If something is not completely digested and you've got a leaky gut and it gets out, your body doesn't recognize that as a nutrient. It doesn't know what it is, so it sets up a defense against your very own food. So what Dr. Nakita was talking about, and Christine too, that these toxins impair that lining of the gut. It's 1 cell. You know, it's replaced frequently. So if you get it straightened out, you get a new nice one pretty quick. But most people are running around with troubles in that area. Well, what happens if that occurs? And this will help you a lot in your conversations, because you'll run into people with about a cajillion different autoimmune dysfunctions, right? Everything from the 12-letter F word to RA, Uncle Arthur, or, you know, you name it. And then they'll start confusing between well, we don't know which one you got because you got symptoms of this one and that one. Well, what if it's all the same thing? What if it's all a bad gut lining? You know, what if it all goes back upstream? The old concept of, if there's people going over the waterfall and they give you the job of running out there and trying to catch them as they go over, pretty soon you're going to get the idea, I think I'll go upstream and find out why they're falling in the river. And that's what Dr. Nakita's talking about. That's what Avini's about. Let's go upstream and find out why they're falling in the river. Another thing that you'll find is people that find you as Avini distributors will often have struggled their entire life with sensitivity to every little thing. And they'll be nervous about starting something new just because they're afraid they'll be sensitive to that too. Well, what we find is that people using Avini products that contain Avini detoxolite become less sensitive to everything. Why? It's that same old thing. Now you're getting your digestion complete. And so that particular irritant's out of the way, and your body's better able to deal with the others. You know, a lot of folks will use Benadryl, something like that, or carry an EpiPen in case they have an allergic reaction. We have found that Avini Cell Defender can be, I mean, if you're in a pinch like that, Marcy just takes a whole bottle. She's highly sensitive, less sensitive than she used to be. Maybe one of you can help me. One of you is going to know the answer to this, because it's what I was looking up when Christine called on me. The drug that women with tumors in their breast take to suppress estrogen. Somebody remember what that is?
Begins with T.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Tamifil or something.
Tamoxifen. Thank you. I just needed a hint. Okay, so I thought about this a lot, because remember, I was a compounding pharmacist, and I was the guy behind the wall that was making the things that was being given to the women to help straighten them out. And I thought, almost everything I'm doing all day long is preparing bioidentical hormone replacement for women who want to be healthy. So I'm thinking, ideally, female hormones ought to lead to a healthy female tissue. So why do they come along with estrogen suppressing aromatase inhibitors like that and think that's going to be better? Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
What happened to Chip?
What happened?
I'm not sure.
He probably got a call at the same time.
All right. So, Nakita, you want to jump in? And I didn't know what the question was. I was paying attention to something over here, but And
Oh,
it's
I know
okay
he's
if you don't, if you don't, we can come. I'm sure Chip's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
There he is.
Sorry.
What I wanted to do
I'm
also, if
here.
anybody
I'm
oh, there he
sorry.
is. He's coming.
He's back.
He's back.
Sorry, I had a call that I had to at least say something to him.
We were
Really
all
important. Okay.
worried.
Where did I go? Okay.
We thought you fell through the hole.
No, it's a really, really important guy. Actually, that's, this is this Thursday evening thing. To me, as I see this group, it looks like Kyle Helm's group is a lot of what's here tonight. And
Yeah.
so it was another guy that is real important. And he had a question. Anyway, so here's the thought. We were back to tamoxifen, which is a prescription to cause healthy women or unhealthy women not to make female hormones anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, okay, if it is mycoplastics, BPA, that kind of thing, that are imitating, right? They're what are those called? They're called estrogen mimicking plastics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the tamoxifen doesn't stop those. So if you stop the healthy stuff, all you got left is the unhealthy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just me standing there thinking about it all day long. So, you come back around, you support the healthy, you go after the problem with the healthy products that we have, and to me, it looks much more logical. It just looks much more logical. And with males, you tell a guy that you're going to give him, and with, typically for us, it's the prostate. That's where the trouble comes. And you tell a male that you're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And anybody on the call know what the testosterone inhibiting prescription is? Anybody know
Begins
what
with
it is?
C.
Somebody knows.
Starts with a C.
Playing word.
Well, you
Castration.
tell a typical male that you're going to give him hormone, therapy. That doesn't scare him at all. Then you go look up what happens if you get hormone therapy and it doesn't work. You know what they call that? Castration resistant
Yeah.
form of the disease. So what is it really? It's not hormone therapy, it's chemical castration.
Mm.
So
Wow.
it is, and this is tough languaging, but that's my specialty, right? Inhumane and barbaric, what we used to do in 2025 to the men that got into prostate trouble, to the women that had a breast problem. Inhumane and barbaric, what we used to do to them. Only problem is it's still 2025 and we're still doing it.
Mm.
So you think about our biochemist, Rik Deitsch, trained at the Duke Cancer Research Institute, comprehensive research under 2 Nobel Prize winners, creating cancer drugs, chemotherapy. All day long, just like he was digging a trench with a shovel, he's thinking, kind of like he was going to, well, couldn't there an easy way to do that? He might have invented the backhoe if they'd have put him on a shovel. But instead, he's thinking, isn't there something we could do that wouldn't risk so much or wouldn't hurt these people to help them? Wouldn't you be thinking that if that was your job all day long? And then wouldn't you finally come to the thought, gosh, isn't there something we could do to help them? What would that look like? Well, Avini, Avini, is Rik Deitsch's lifetime of answers to that question. What can we do to people to help them to help them? These are, I'm giving you little phrases and little ideas, little pieces of conversations that you can use as you wish. You kind of get the ideas here. Let's see what else I wanted to highlight on this side. The ingredients of the fiber are soluble and insoluble fibers. Now, is that water soluble and insoluble, or is it acid soluble and insoluble? Well, it has to be acid because some of them you can't be broken down by the time they get to the large intestine, because the intent in the product is for them to be the home for the microbiome that Dr. Nakita was telling about, how you get a healthy gut. And so they're acid soluble and insoluble. So what are the fibers? What are the sources of them? One of the fibers is oat fiber. Well, people see that and they panic. They say, I'm gluten-free, I can't take it. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, rye, and oats. It is not found in oat fiber. You're not, if you're a gluten intolerant person, you don't have to worry about that. You'll get that question for sure. Apple fiber. Read about apple pectin sometime. It's a miracle substance. Carrot fiber. And then sometime look at FOS, fructooligosaccharide called inulin. It's a very long chain sugar that acts like a fiber. In other words, it's a sugar that can't be broken down during digestion, so it doesn't turn into glucose and doesn't turn into something that has a high glycemic index. Okay, that's what FOS. We happen to have a chicory factory in my town. And when they were looking for a source for it, I got Rik in touch with the guy that I happen to know that runs the factory. And everything we have is going to animal feed. Guess where all the fiber from the sugar beets is going? Animal feed. Guess how much fiber from the root crops in my town goes into humans? None. Guess what the humans get to eat out of the big sugar factory? Pure white, drug quality, white crystalline sugar. And there's gigantic, the tallest thing in my town is the bins that hold that sugar.
Wow.
Huge, huge. Like you'd have grain bins in your town. I got sugar bins that big. And they can't put the beets in there. They're piled all over the county on the ground. They look like big white rocks. Trucks and trucks. I've hauled, hundreds, if not thousands of loads of sugar beets to that factory. I'm sadly one of the world's foremost experts on growing sugar beets. Apologize for that. Do I have anything else that I wanted to say? Oh, here's a provocative statement. Diarrhea is severe constipation. What? That doesn't sound right, does it? But sometimes people have something happen when you start to straighten them out. And remember, I think everybody in this call probably remembers John Wayne and Elvis Presley. Both of those guys, when they died, they had 30 to 60 pounds of trapped fecal contents in their colons that wasn't going anywhere. So how much absorption do you get from your colon if there's already 50 or 60 pounds of trapped fecal content in there? So let's just say that you start doing something right and it starts to move. Well, don't be too surprised if you're plugged up and then flowing. And sorry, but it's not doing the right thing that's hurting you. It was all those years of doing the wrong thing, and now you're headed back. So don't quit right when you're about to fix it. Oh my goodness.
That's good, Chip. I like that a lot because I've had people say that, and you said don't quit when you're about to fix it, because that's what happens, and then they get scared and worry and stop when they're so close to, opening up the crimped toes.
Yeah, and so you don't want to go back to the problem, and you're but yes, and I guess I need to admit sometimes the resolution of these problems is shocking and gross. You talk about digestion. One of my, I guess, favorite answers I finally got after blowing the question, several times. People would call, and if you've listened to Deirdre Thornton, the colon hydrotherapist up in Bozeman, Montana, the stuff that's coming out of people, she has to go back to the textbooks to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's gotten more and more aggressive and getting more and more stuff out. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know somebody like her, and I'm a brand new kid distributor, like whoever the newest one of you is, and I start getting calls from people, and they see parasites leaving, and I would try to, you know, comfort them or say something useful, and it seemed like I could never say anything to make them happy. And then one morning, a couple of gals called, and one had sponsored the other, and she had an event like that and called her sponsor and said, "This is awful. I'm going to quit." So she said, "Let me call Chip. We'll tell him we're going to quit." And so I'm on the phone, and they start telling me about all this, and it all of a sudden I had you know, I guess, you know, strange gift to get from God, but he made me say this. Just a second, girls. Was there anything in that toilet she wants back? And just like you guys, they started laughing, and I thought, I finally got my answer. Thank you, Lord, you know. And so I've used that ever since. And of course there isn't. It's obvious at that point. Then you realize there, you know, there wasn't something there you want back. But it can be shocking and gross. We've had things crawl out of every orifice of people's bodies and right through the skin. You know, probably has happened to somebody on this call. Maybe that's plenty for me. I don't know. I'm getting into the deep water in the white boulder.
Well, let's do this. Does anybody, Eddie, go ahead. You want to share, and feel free if you have a testimonial, just
He was
raise
going to
your
ask me
hand.
to quit talking. That's what he was going to do.
No, he's going to add to this.
No, no, no. I'm going to piggyback and stay on the gross topic. But I'll keep it very light and clean. My mother was a big believer in Rick's products back in the day. She was a phlebotomist, and yeah, it was under a different company name, but she was all about clinoctillite, zeolite, and all that. She told me she went to and had a colonic done one time, and you know, it's a clear tube, and she said that she was laying there and she was watching it. You know, I mean, it's just what it is. It was just fluid, you know, that they were giving her that was coming out and bringing the bad stuff out. And she looked at the doctor and she said, "Well, what is that?" Like it looked like a piece of charcoal, like black charcoal. And all I'm going to say is this: the doctor said it's probably a piece of meat you had about 20 years ago, and it got hardened and couldn't pass through. But you know, like a lion's intestines are like under your sink. You know, it's like this, and boom, it's out. Ours is like so complex. And so she was seeing pieces of charcoal like that big, this big, you can see it, coming out of her body, and she felt amazingly better. But if you don't clean it out, and that was the whole concept, this whole idea, she didn't know what that was. But you know, hey, Chip, you're right. I mean, everything. And then she bragged to me about the parasites that came out of her body. You know, I was like, I'm all about it. And she's to set the groundwork for me to understand this stuff for 30 years.
So what
Stepped in.
happens when you go to a practitioner like that and you bring Avini in? Some amazing things happen. The
Yeah.
breadth of human afflictions that they can deal with opens up drastically. And
Yep.
people don't have to come close enough for them to poke them in the butt with a hose in order to create income for their clinic.
Right.
Their business goes to all of North America, like instantly. And in the case of the colon hydrotherapist, they began getting the heads out of things they were only getting body segments. And then they got all kinds of different stuff. Then they started getting things out of the duodenum, not just the colon. So now you're not just a colon. And then they started getting stuff out of the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas. They started getting liver flukes and that kind of stuff coming out as well. And she got more and more aggressive about how she approached them and more confident, because it wasn't just her clients. It was her daughters that worked with her, or people in the clinic that had, you know, worked with her herself. You know, people who had colonic care for years were having things leave that they weren't able to get at before. So,
Chip, it's scary. I have a good question for you.
yes.
What are the names of the two doctors that were that received the Nobel Prizes?
Yeah. So If you've been around anyone receiving chemotherapy, you've heard of Taxol. I believe Taxol inhibits, what do you call the little twist on the end of a DNA strand? Somebody
Helix?
knows.
Is it the helix? No.
Well, yeah, it is a double helix. What do you call the little thing that twists it off so that it?
Synapse.
Okay.
Uh,
It's a telomere. And
telomere.
the longer your telomeres are, so I'm just trying to get you guys
Healthy
thinking,
you are.
the better, healthier you are. But what does that chemo do? Telomerase is the enzyme that gets it to untwist when you're going to make a copy of a new cell. Taxol stops that enzyme from untwisting the ends of the DNA strand. The guy who was the doctor that came up with that, Monroe Wall was the guy. The other doctor that got a Nobel Prize that Rik was working with was in her 80s at the time. And her name is Gertrude Elion, Elion, something like that. Gertrude Elion. And her chemotherapy was camptothecin and camptothecin analogs. Camptothecin was nearly perfect in lab animals suppressing tumors. But when they went into human trials, there was a tragic twist. The camptothecin adhered to a protein that we have, the animals don't have. And the name of that protein, circulating human albumin. Easier word than you think, because everybody here knows the yolk has the white and the yolk, right? And albumin. So you know more than you think you do. And it would adhere to the circulating human albumin and plug up the kidneys. Now you had to have a nephrologist, a kidney doctor, to monitor you so that you could take the chemotherapy. So then Rik's job was to try to twist or add a methyl or an ethyl or something along that chemical chain to make it slipperier so it didn't, but they never could get it to quit. So now you still have camptothecin and camptothecin analogs, but they are still dangerous for humans to use. So then Rik goes off to Rexall. In walks the two guys from Croatia, start telling him, showing him dog studies where the tumors in the dogs have been suppressed, putting just, crunched up, powdered up raw material for zeolite intravenously into dogs, and pretty much all of them had their tumors improved. And the guy said, well, do you want to, sell our product? Because he had $1 billion marketplace already. We'll have one someday, right? We have to be 1,000 times bigger than we are right now. 1,000 million is $1 billion. That's how big a deal. I mean, Neil's run multi-billion-dollar companies. If you gave me Neil's job, I'd probably panic in the first morning. But he can handle it easy. Roxana knows, Rik and Neil. They handle this. They got to keep hustling, but they can handle it. So these guys come back, say, you want to buy our stuff? Rik says, God, I love the idea, but I just came from a place where I had to have stick a needle in people to get the product in them. I don't want to do that. I think if we made it small enough, it would leave the gut circulate systemically in the body fluids. So we got to get control of the size. And guess what else I figured out? If we pulled the poisons out of it first that it's using to kill the problem, when you take it into the human, it would immediately fill itself again. And so you would weaponize the pollution that you've accumulated for a lifetime against a problem that it may have caused. In wrestling, you get 2 points for a reversal. You're on your back, you flip it over, you got it on its back.
Yeah.
And so, but they didn't do it. They were the sales force. They weren't the scientists from Croatia. They just walked out, shaking their heads, didn't make the sale. But it haunted Rik. He had to figure out how to do it. Lifetime of his answers to the question, how can I help people to help them? A-V-I-N-I, Avini. Funny little story about the word Avini. Everybody owns web space now and they want to sell it to you. They just sat down one day and started moving letters around until I found something where nobody owned the web space. Avini. Turns out it means winning in some exotic, Filipino language or something. But that's the kind of practical that Neil is. I'm not going to buy web space from some dude that bought it speculating that he could sell it to me for a fortune someday. I'm just going to shuffle the letters around until I find something I like. I mean, that's, I don't know if that's ingenious or clever or common sense or what that is, but Avini. Say your name. All these products that start with the word plus, well, if you start trying to say plus this and plus that, and you don't say anything before the plus, you'll get tongue-tied in about 12 seconds.
Yeah.
The languaging is so much easier if you say Avini plus relief, Avini plus fiber, Avini cell defender, Avini's immunity, Avini plus energy. See how that rolls easier? And the more we say our name, what would we like? We would like for everybody to, have that in their vocabulary. We'd like Avini to be recognized, maybe in the dictionary or something.
Great way to brand.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think, unless you guys pull my chain again, I think that's what I came to say.
Thank you, Chip.
I never run out.
Anyone wanted to share anything, a story, a testimonial about the fiber or a personal experience before we go? We got a couple more minutes. Don't be shy.
Guaranteed your next blood test will be spectacular if you use that product.
Absolutely.
Always happens. Not maybe, it will be, for sure.
Well, hello, everyone. I have a testimony from my very first distributor that I got on the call. I should have had her get on the call, but she told me to give her enough notice, so I forgot. Anywho, for she said for a long time. I met her in September at Labor Day at a cookout, and she said she's been dealing with being a diabetic, and she doesn't want to take the medicine. And so I was talking to somebody else at this cookout, and she overheard it, and she was like, "What is the product?" Yada yada yada. So that night when she got home, she called me, and she said, "I'm very interested in it." And the next day, she ordered the Cell Defender, and she ordered the Plus Fiber, the Avini Plus Fiber. Did I say it right, Chip?
Yeah.
So, and long and behold, she told me, I sent her videos on, how these two products lowered the A1C, her levels and everything. And she sent me her lab work. And she said, I am the first person that she is telling this to. And she said, she was just so ecstatic. She said, I owe you my life. She said, I'm so glad I was nosy and I just stepped in on the conversation. And she said that the doctor told her, asked her what she was doing because now her A1C is normal and doesn't need any form of medication at all. And so that's her testimony. I told her that I would share with.
And
So,
that's dependable and reproducible. It happens every time. Every time. And so how did it feel to you, Deborah, to be the angel for that person?
It felt so good. It was like, yes. Like, I mean, I knew it. I knew I didn't have any doubt. And I told her, and I said to her, as long as you keep taking the product, I mean, I'm not there. I can't force you. I don't know what you're doing behind closed doors. But I said, as long as you take these products, it will work. And I have another grand testimony. My father has been, and he kind of kept this a secret for me. He's been dealing with some type of kidney problem, right, for a couple years now. And I said, Daddy, just give me a month. Take the Cell Defender with the fiber. Well, he's having and the mushrooms, the zucchini. So he's like he's taking high blood pressure medicine. So he took the zucchini on and off, but the Cell Defender, he was drinking it like it was water. ordered 7 bottles, and then he was drinking it. When he went to the doctor about maybe it was after Thanksgiving, but I believe it was before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. I told him, call me when you get to the doctor because I want to talk to the doctor. And so I called him and I spoke with the doctor. And would you believe it? His kidney situation is great, no problem.
Makes it easier for the kidney to do. We know we're using the kidneys to carry out the poisons, but it's easier, not more difficult. People hear that the kidney's going to do the work and they think, oh, well, it's going to wear out my already bad kidney. No, it makes it easier to do what it couldn't do before. So it's as though it was, your oxen would be the kidney and the liver pulling a wagon, and grandma's piano's in the back of the wagon, and they set it out. Well, they don't know why it's easier, but the next step and every step thereafter is easier. So whatever capability your liver and your kidney, the oxen side by side up there had, is better allocated to the rest of your problems. Because you just took that off of their shoulders.
Yes.
Dr. Nakita bobbed your head. Yes, I thank you, Dr. Nakita. It's logical. It's so logical.
Well, Deborah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for, being bold in a party situation. I remember the weekend you were going to that party and you told me you were going to share, and she did. And Deborah's not shy either. I've been on places with her. She talks to everybody. So that's what we have to do. And you did it. And look at that, you're saving a life. So what do we say, Eddie? The 3 things? What do you say? Preventative, saving lives, and changing lives.
Yeah, that's the 3 things we do. It covers the whole gamut.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that said, I hope that you all had a wonderful, wonderful week listening to the call on Saturday. Was anybody on the call on Saturday morning?
I was. I have a quick one thing, Christine, before you continue. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's
My
okay.
son Richie is on. And I know I don't know if he posted the question or not, but my grandson, which is his son, 8 years old, and he carries an EpiPen because he's allergic to certain things. And I heard Chip saying that Marcy drinks the whole bottle of the Cell Defender if she becomes allergic to something. So he texts me and says, "How is that possible? Because when you go into an anaphylactic, that your throat closes up."
Yeah. So over time, you're less likely to have the problem. And typically, if you're a person who goes that way, and it's still, you don't want to leave your EpiPen behind,
right?
But typically, it's coming. I mean, you've got a little bit of time. You start feeling a little weird in your lips, and then it starts getting worse, and then boom, you're in big trouble. It can kill you, of course. So, but that's she just figured that out on her own, and I'll be doggone to, it. And let's say you don't have an EpiPen, and you do have some Cell Defender for sure. When I was in Panama, very first thing I did in the Air Force was jungle survival school, and because I was just a kid, but I was an officer, they gave me the EpiPen because I had a guy on the team that was allergic to wasps, and sure enough, we took down a palm tree to get to the palm heart to eat, which is delicious, by the way. And it was full of wasps, but thank God he didn't get stung. But yeah, it's nice if somebody has one and knows what to do. But an additional thing, and over time, to be less in danger all the time. And so that would be the main thing I would offer to your son, is that if he would do this and gets his gut lining healed, as we spoke of today, get that straightened out, it's much less likely he'll back away from that waterfall. Why are they going in the river in the first place? Why is he so sensitive?
Gotcha.
He won't be totally gone, but less likely.
I wanted to say something. My son, he's very allergic to a lot of stuff. Sesames, peanuts, pollens, everything. And since he's been on the Avini, I've noticed he used to take allergy medicines morning and night. I haven't had a prescription for medicine, and I think he showed me the thing was it was almost like 8 months. It was expired, and he hadn't even taken any medicine. And also, I noticed that his allergies, like his allergies to wheat and corn, is not as inflammatory. He had a sesame. He's like 89% allergic to sesame, and he went to a restaurant and had some, and all he said was, "Oh no, this is not good." Usually, he has hives and runny nose and sneezing and throats closing up, but he literally is becoming less and less sensitive to the allergens that he is. So I
So
love it.
Dr. Nakita says good research has a couple of attributes. It's dependable and reproducible. Ideally, it happens every time, and the magnitude of effect isn't tiny that you have to measure with a micrometer. You can observe it as the person who needed the help and as the moms of the people that needed the help. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. What could have happened on this call just now I'm going to take a picture right now. So I got Dr. Nakita right next to Deborah. Did Deborah hear what Dr. Nakita said? What could be more perfect? Who could possibly say something that would be more of an influence on Deborah than Dr. Nakita Warren? Nobody
Right.
in the whole world.
Right. So Richie, your young son is on here. Deborah, he's probably the youngest one on here. Richie, you got a wise mama, just so you know. She's very, very wise. So thank you everybody for being here. Chip, thanks for doing this tonight. Thank you, Carol, and everyone for sharing. Dependable
Real
and
quick, Carol.
reproducible, right? Dependable and reproducible.
Yep.
Carol, Christine, come
Yes.
here real quick. My son wanted to say hi. Come here.
Come on. I had my son on. Deborah had her son on.
Everybody got their son on.
Generation. We're handing the torch down to our generation.
Come on.
Handing the torch.
Hello,
Say hi.
hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Tell
We're
him how
sending
to
it.
Nice looking young man.
Welcome.
I haven't seen him since he was about 4 or 5.
He's tall now.
Okay. Hi. He's a lot older than my grandson. Handsome young man.
What's your name?
It's all about sharing with our families and generations. And as I said, our chip said, dependable and reproducible to our next generation. Share it with your
You
family.
wanted to say something about Avini product. What you wanted to
Go
say?
ahead, honey.
I wanted to say that after I started taking it, the stuff that I was normally allergic to, that I get like intense allergic reactions to, like all of those food items or ingredients, like it lessened a very big amount. So like stuff that on a daily basis that I'd eat that I usually like try to avoid, I get more like I've been starting to eat more stuff that I used to be allergic to, like wheat and corn and stuff like that, but I'm not as allergic to it as I used to be. So that's what I wanted to say.
So
Thank
even
you.
more convincing than mom.
Oh,
How can
really?
that be, right? I mean, even more perfect for Deborah. Thank you so much for speaking up. That was awesome. Thank you so much for speaking up.
So these young people that have to take over, Ryan, Dr. Nakita, what is your son's name?
What's your name?
My name is Sean.
Dawn and Richie. You guys are going to have to take over once we all retire. So
You can do this for your work, guys. I mean, it's a career. It really is.
absolutely. All right, we're almost at the close of 8:30, but go ahead. Someone else wants to comment before we close. Go ahead.
Christine,
Yes, who's that?
this is Doc. I just want to tell you this is a fiber call. And for 10 years, I've been seeing the same doctor and taking blood tests every 3 months. And I've been on metformin for 10 years, been on Actos for 3 years, and Ozempic for 2 years. And I've been taking the Cell Defender and the Z-Immunity for quite a while, but I added fiber and I added Trim Science to 60 days of my last 90-day test. And when I went back to the doctor, he had to go back in the back room and pull more charts, and my numbers were lower than they have been in 10 years. He took me off the metformin, he took me off the Actos, and he cut my Ozempic in half, and if it's that way the next time, he's going to take me off all of them. And he told me to quit taking the Prilosec because my cholesterol was cut in half. The bad cholesterol went from 140 something to 88.
Wow.
So
Wow.
the only change was fiber and trim science. That's it. That's all I got.
Doc,
So
thank
is
you
that
for
all you got?
sharing. That's
I'm so
powerful.
disappointed. That's all Doc has. Too bad. That was hardly anything, Doc. Jeez,
Wow.
what a perfect ending to our call. Thank you so much for speaking up, Doc Carter.
What do you say, Chip? What do you say, the younger version of himself?
Yes, attributes of a younger Doc.
Amen. All right, everybody. Thank
Doc.
you for being here. Good night, Doc. Thank you for sharing. Good to see some young people, some wise people, this amazing group of Avini vibes. And thank you. We'll see you all
And a
next
whole flock
week.
of doctors. And a whole
And a
flock
whole
of
flock
doctors.
of doctors. Dr. Mary.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
Good night. Good night, all. God bless.
Night, all. Thank
Bye,
you all,
everyone.
every one of you. Good job.
It's been real.